Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So imagine this. You're waking up at, 3 in the morning to these frantic, all-caps emails from a project lead in New York.
Oh, the classic middle-of-the-night panic.
Right, because a massive deliverable is suddenly overdue. So you jump out of bed, your heart's pounding, panic is fully setting in, and then you realize, wait, it's a national public holiday in your country.
Yep. Your office is closed.
Exactly. Your office is closed, your team is completely offline, and your project lead over in the U.S. had absolutely no idea.
It's just a total disconnect.
And this kind of synchronization failure is quietly costing global businesses, millions in lost productivity.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you are listening to this right now while, trying to figure out how to schedule a 10-person sync across 4 different continents without making someone stay up past midnight.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, you know exactly how painful this is.
It is a massive friction point for modern teams, which is why we're looking at this really brilliant resource today.
Right, the article by Felix Römer.
Yeah. Global Holiday Calendar, Managing Cultural Differences in a Global Team. And our mission for this deep dive is really to figure out how professionals can actually manage the future of work.
Because it is getting complicated.
Very. We're unpacking how you maintain business efficiency and, navigate these incredibly complex global schedules without those dreaded last-minute surprises.
Yeah.
Or accidental burnout.
Accidental burnout is the perfect way to phrase it, because globally distributed teams have fundamentally shattered the traditional single-country calendar.
They really have.
The old model of everyone logging on at 9 in the morning, experiencing the exact same seasonal energy slumps, and signing off simultaneously for the weekend, it's completely obsolete.
It's a dinosaur.
Right. Relying on a single country's calendar for a global team it's kind of like trying to run a modern multinational business on a single outdated operating system.
That's a great analogy.
If your time zone and your cultural updates aren't constantly syncing across all your servers, eventually the network just crashes.
And that crash, it has a very real human cost. You see the severe impact on employee well-being and mental health when companies just default to the headquarters schedule.
Oh yeah, like when the main office just assumes everyone works their hours.
Exactly. When you don't establish fair start times for cross-border calls, you end up with team members in, say, the Asia-Pacific region consistently forced to take meetings at 10 at night.
Which is brutal.
It's totally unsustainable. Or you have European teams waking up to manufactured emergencies simply because a U.S. manager didn't realize it was a local bank holiday.
Right, a holiday they've never even heard of.
And you also have to factor in entirely different work weeks.
Oh, right, the Sunday-Thursday schedule.
Exactly. In many Middle Eastern countries, the standard work week runs from Sunday through Thursday. So if your central system assumes Saturday and Sunday are universally offline,
your data pipelines are just going to break.
yeah, your communication handoffs will constantly break down over the weekend.
Which brings us to the core philosophy of the source material. It distills the solution into this one quote: "Treat others' days off as non-negotiable trust follows."
I love that quote.
Me too. It frames scheduling not just as, basic logistics, but as the actual foundation of psychological safety.
That's a really important distinction.
Yeah, because by treating an international colleague's off hours or local observances as non-negotiable, a manager is signaling that their time and their culture are just as valuable as the main offices.
Because trust isn't built through, generic corporate team-building exercises.
Trust falls in the break room.
Right, exactly. It's built by a manager realizing that it's, say, Golden Week in Japan and proactively moving a project deadline a week early.
So the local team doesn't have to scramble.
Yes, so they don't have to stress out right before they log off for a major cultural event.
So if that old default operating system is causing burnout and, crashing the business, how do we actually install the upgrade?
We have to get into the mechanics.
Right. We need to look at how to build a system that accommodates 50 different regional holidays without grinding the entire company to a halt.
Yeah, the recommendation here is to build a single source of truth.
Using specific software features and strategic playbooks.
Exactly. So the first mechanical step is building that central hub. You are overlaying time offsets and adding specific region tags to every user's profile.
Like what kind of tags?
Tags like APAC for Asia Pacific, LATAM for Latin America, or MENA for the Middle East and North Africa.
Got it.
And once those tags are in the system, You establish hard meeting policies around them. You mandate staggered all-hands meetings.
Oh, so alternating the broadcast time.
Right. You alternate the broadcast time each quarter so that one specific region doesn't always have to settle for, just watching or recording the next day.
That's huge for team morale.
Yeah.
And you also need documented escalation paths, right?
Absolutely essential.
Because if the lead developer in India is observing Diwali and will be completely offline for days, the system needs to explicitly state who the on-call backup is in Europe.
Yes, no ambiguity.
And to do this practically, the source suggests distributing exportable calendar bundles.
The .ics files.
Right. For anyone who doesn't live in IT, these are those universal .ics files that let you import specific country filters directly into your Outlook or Google Calendar.
Super easy to use.
They also recommend printable month-by-month PDFs for physical workspaces, which is kind of old school but helpful.
Visual reminders are great.
And a really fascinating travel mode feed that highlights transit hotspots so you know exactly when major global airports will be bogged down by holiday travel.
Which is brilliant for coordinating in-person summits. But the tactical details go even further, specifically regarding out-of-office communication.
The dreaded auto-reply.
Right. Instead of every employee writing their own quick, informal away message, the company provides standardized, localized O templates.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have thought of that.
It is a huge operational upgrade. It ensures the brand's tone remains professional, makes sure the handoff to the covering team member is crystal clear, and this is key, respectfully indicates if an individual is observing a fast or taking an extended holiday.
So when a high-value client reaches out and hits that auto-reply, they get a clear redirection.
Rather than feeling abandoned.
Okay, let's unpack this central hub concept, because if we take this to its logical conclusion, I see a major flaw here.
Oh, what's the flaw?
If a company starts adding every single regional festival, every lunar event, and every local public holiday across 50 different countries to one company-wide calendar,
It's going to get messy.
that calendar just becomes a solid wall of colors. It would look like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, the rainbow of chaos.
You would suffer from massive information overload, and nobody would ever know when they could actually book a meeting with a cross-functional team.
Well, what's fascinating here is that the article anticipates that exactly. The solution to that information overload is a concept called governance.
Governance, okay?
The goal isn't to stop work whenever someone, somewhere, has a holiday. The goal is to treat the schedule itself like a product.
Like enterprise software.
Exactly. Think of a piece of enterprise software. It has a dedicated product manager, it receives regular documented updates, and it has clear usage rules. Your global calendar needs that exact same structure.
So you need actual people in charge of it.
Yes. You assign named owners for each region. You mandate quarterly reviews to catch dates that shift from year to year. And most crucially, you categorize every single event.
So going back to that operating system metaphor earlier, governance acts like a traffic controller patch.
Yes, exactly.
It filters the data, it tells you which down servers you need to route around, and which ones are still partially online.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. Governance clearly labels days as either a blackout day or a soft touch day.
What's the difference?
A blackout day means absolutely no outreach. That region is fully offline. Do not bother them.
Right.
A soft touch day means the local office might be open, but they're operating at half capacity, so you default to asynchronous workflows.
Meaning you don't demand a live meeting.
Exactly. You send an email or leave a task in the project management software rather than demanding a live video call. It turns a chaotic list of global events into a highly curated, predictable operational tool.
You only see the blackouts that affect your immediate cross-border dependencies.
Precisely.
So now that we have this traffic controller in place, we have to look at the actual data feeding into it. Because moving from the structure to the cultural nuances is where this deep dive gets incredibly practical.
Oh, definitely.
The data points start with major U.S. anchors, like Thanksgiving or Memorial Day, which act as sort of gravity wells for the global business calendar.
They really do. Because the U.S. market and its workforce are just so massive, when they go offline for a major anchor date, the ripple effects immediately hit supply chains worldwide.
Like a shockwave.
Exactly. If a logistics manager in Germany doesn't plan for the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday, they might find themselves unable to get a crucial sign-off from a key stakeholder.
Completely stalling their entire week.
All because they forgot someone else was eating turkey.
And then there is the mechanical nightmare of daylight saving time.
Ugh, don't even get me started.
The source points to the upcoming March 2025 U.S. daylight saving shift as a perfect example of temporary misalignment.
It is a massive headache. When the U.S. shifts its clocks forward on March 9th, Europe and several other regions haven't shifted yet.
Right, they shift a few weeks later.
And some regions don't observe daylight saving time at all. This means that for a few weeks, your meeting times are fundamentally misaligned.
It breaks all your recurring calendar invites.
Totally breaks them. A standing weekly sync that worked perfectly at 9:00 a.m. in New York and 2:00 p.m. in London suddenly becomes 1:00 p.m. in London.
Which seems small, but
That seemingly small one-hour shift can completely overwrite someone's lunch break, or it conflicts with another local standing meeting
so you have to update invites immediately.
immediately, and potentially move critical approvals earlier in the week to avoid a massive operational crunch.
And it's not just state-sponsored fixed public holidays either. The calendar has to track religious and seasonal rhythms that shift every single year.
The lunar calendars.
Yes, you have to track full moon-linked dates. Events like Vesak, which is observed by millions of Buddhists, or Matariki in New Zealand, which follows more lunar timing, they are not fixed dates on the standard Gregorian calendar.
No, they move around. And if you aren't actively tracking those lunar cycles, or if you don't have those regional owners updating the central hub, a marketing team could easily schedule a major product launch right in the middle of a significant cultural event,
Completely killing their initial engagement metrics.
just burying it. And the required corporate response has to adapt based on the nature of the observance, too.
Right.
Adapting to Ramadan involves offering flexible working hours, recognizing that energy levels will fluctuate for fasting employees throughout the day.
That makes a lot of sense.
But adapting to Diwali or Golden Week requires preparing for multi-day travel spikes, where employees are completely offline, away from their desks, and honestly unable to answer even urgent messages.
Wait, I actually love how the article's glossary breaks this down. It specifically differentiates between a feast and a festival.
Oh, that is a great distinction.
Right. A feast, like Hanamatsuri, usually centers around a family meal or a specific time-bound gathering. So mechanically, that means the team member just needs to log off an hour or two early.
Mm-hmm.
But a festival, like Midsummer or Holi, implies a massive multi-day impact.
Mm-hmm.
They are completely gone.
Completely checked out.
That completely changes how a manager should assign projects for that week.
It dictates the entire resource allocation strategy. Knowing that distinction prevents a manager from making an insensitive demand out of pure ignorance.
Yeah, you wouldn't ask someone to work through a multi-day festival.
Exactly. You can't ask someone to just catch up on their emails after dinner during a festival the way you might during a feast.
That's a really good way to put it. And speaking of sensitivity, the calendar also tracks solemn observances, which are critical for protecting a company's brand reputation.
This is huge for marketing teams.
Think about remembrance or armistice ceremonies across Europe, Canada, and Australia. The potential for an automated disaster there is terrifying.
Oh, it really is.
Imagine a British team observing 2 minutes of silence on Armistice Day, and right at 11:00 a.m., the company's Slack bot triggers a GIF of a dancing mascot for a flash sale.
Oh, no.
Or a scheduled marketing email blasts out a cheeky, tone-deaf promotional discount right as a nation is honoring fallen veterans.
It's an absolute PR nightmare.
Exactly.
Which is why those solemn observances have to be hard-coded into the central hub as global blackout windows for automated marketing.
Because when that internal system breaks down, the external customer is the next one to feel the impact.
They absolutely notice it.
So how does this scheduling chaos leak into external marketing and sales? Mastering this global calendar clearly translates to an edge in revenue and customer trust.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it translates to revenue because it allows a business to stay ahead of the global consumer rhythm.
The shopping cycles.
Right. Consider the late-year shopping peaks. Most Western brands put all their chips on Black Friday, calibrating their entire global supply chain for late November.
Sure.
But in Asia, Singles Day on November 11th vastly outperforms Black Friday in many retail categories.
Wow, vastly outperformed.
Oh, yeah. So if your budget is entirely focused on the Western calendar, you are leaving massive amounts of revenue on the table.
You're just ignoring a huge market peak.
Yeah.
You also have to prepare for events like El Buen Fin in Mexico, which happens slightly before Black Friday.
Yep.
Or Boxing Day in Commonwealth markets. And Boxing Day requires a totally different staffing algorithm because the traffic is largely driven by post-holiday returns and gift card spending, not initial purchases.
It's a completely different customer intent, and building campaigns for these specific peaks requires a rigorous localization strategy.
Rigorous is the word.
And the absolute strictest rule here is to never directly translate SEO keywords across markets.
Right, because a direct translation just strips out the context.
The mechanism behind search algorithms makes direct translation incredibly dangerous. Search engines don't just translate words, they map local human intent.
Intent is everything.
The exact phrase someone in the US uses when they have high intent to purchase might just be an informational top-of-funnel query in Germany.
Oh, interesting.
Or the English word affordable might translate directly to a word in another language that implies cheap or low quality,
Ouch.
which ruins your brand positioning and your algorithm ranking entirely.
You just tanked your own product.
Basically, you have to research local queries, local slang, and the specific emotional triggers that drive purchases in that region.
And to get that right, you have to prioritize inclusive content. The source suggests utilizing bilingual reviewers and internal employee resource groups to preview campaigns before they go live.
This is such a smart move.
Because a native speaker will instantly catch a cultural misstep or a subtle tone issue that a direct translation tool will completely miss.
They also emphasize localizing global events like Earth Day.
Oh, Earth Day is a great example.
Right. Sending out a generic Save the Planet tweet in a region where local consumers expect tangible corporate action is seen as performative marketing.
It feels cheap.
Yeah. Instead, you use the calendar to plan on-the-ground actions, like setting up a specific packaging recycling pilot in your Berlin office or organizing a local cleanup. It shows actual investment in the community.
If we pull back and look at the architecture of the business, how does this level of meticulous calendar planning actually change the structure of global support?
This level of planning is the only way a business can implement a true follow-the-sun model.
The follow the sun model.
Yes, this is the holy grail of global operations. It means your customer support or your software development cycle never sleeps.
But crucially, none of your employees are forced to work the night shift. How does that actually map out across an 8-hour shift schedule?
Well, as the sun sets in London and that team logs off, the workload is seamlessly handed off to the team in Sydney, who are just having their morning coffee.
Nice.
And then 8 hours later, Sydney hands off to New York. The cycle continues indefinitely.
Round the block.
But you can only achieve that continuous loop if you have absolute clarity on the global calendar.
Right, the sync has to be perfect.
If Sydney has a public holiday that the London team doesn't know about, the sun sets in London, the handoff fails, and the work just hits a wall, that immediately breaks your SLA.
And just to clarify for anyone who doesn't live in customer success, an SLA is a service level agreement. Basically, the promised response time you guarantee to your clients.
The contract.
Right. If that handoff drops, you violate your contract. But with the central hub routing the workflow around that local holiday, response times stay perfectly steady for customers globally, without ever overloading or disrespecting any single local team.
It is the ultimate intersection of operational efficiency and cultural respect.
I love that. Let's bring all these strategic insights down to reality. What are the practical takeaways for you, the listener, to apply to your own professional workflow right now?
The primary metric given in the source is the 6 to 8 week rule.
The 6 to 8 week rule. Let's talk about that.
It's your operational safety net. You must start your campaign planning at least 6 to 8 weeks in advance of any major global observance.
Why does the runway need to be that long? 6 to 8 weeks feels like a lot of lead time.
Because true localization requires significant lead time. You need that runway to secure localized creative approvals.
Ah, right.
You need time to run the messaging past those bilingual reviewers we just discussed to ensure the tone is perfect. And mechanically, you need time to stage the actual physical inventory if you are adjusting for a market-specific shopping peak like Singles Day.
Because if you don't...
If you wait until 3 weeks out, you will be forced to use generic, poorly translated assets, and you will miss the cultural mark entirely.
So your immediate action steps are clear. First, define those escalation paths. Know exactly who is covering whom when an entire region goes offline for a festival.
Absolutely.
Second, review your social media and sales trends to match your content cadence to actual local demand rather than blasting the same message worldwide.
Yes.
And third, physically get the tools. Download those .ics files, print out the month-by-month PDFs, and start integrating those region tags into your team's central calendar.
You really have to treat the implementation of this calendar like a major product launch. Assign your regional owners today.
Don't put it off.
Exactly.
Right.
That way, when the government of a specific country announces a sudden last-minute change to a public holiday, which happens,
Hmm.
there is a clear protocol on exactly who updates the central hub.
This entire deep dive raises a really provocative thought, though, and it's something I want to leave everyone chewing on.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we spent this whole time dissecting how mastering cultural calendars is the ultimate hack for global business efficiency.
Right.
But what happens to the future of work when the technology simply buffers all of this for us?
What do you mean by buffering it?
Imagine a near future where AI translation becomes totally flawless, not just translating the literal words, but perfectly mapping that cultural nuance and search intent in real time.
Okay, yeah.
And imagine our asynchronous collaboration tools become so advanced that real-time video meetings are barely necessary anymore. If the tech makes collaboration completely seamless, regardless of time zone or language, will the traditional concept of overlapping business hours eventually disappear entirely?
That's a wild thought. But I mean, if work becomes truly perfectly asynchronous, coordinating real-time schedules might cease to be a bottleneck entirely.
Right. Will local holidays eventually become a purely personal experience?
Hmm.
It won't be a corporate scheduling hurdle anymore because your AI agents and your async tools will just buffer the workflow, answering low-level queries and queuing up tasks while you're away celebrating.
Mm.
The company won't even feel the bump in productivity. It's
Hmm.
wild to think about.
It really is. I think it suggests that right now we are operating in a transitional phase.
Sure.
Yeah. We are using these meticulous calendars and governance rules as a necessary bridge. We are crossing from the old single office mindset into a future where time and location are entirely decoupled from output.
A bridge we all have to build and walk across right now if we want to stay competitive in the global market. Well, thank you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast.
We hope this provided you with a strategic new lens on how to manage your time, your team, and your campaigns globally.
Make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you can stay ahead of the curve on future business trends and operational strategies. And I highly encourage you to read the full in-depth article by Felix Römer. We've put the link, along with all the downloadable PDFs, calendar files, and templates we discussed today, right down there in the show notes. Until next time, keep your schedules flexible and your minds open.